Hey friends,
Hello.
you hear our nice little cricket in the background, so we're gonna serenade you tonight with our little cricket. But continuing on with our September singles.
Well, this is the first actually, since we
Starting
skipped last week. Sorry.
starting our September singles. What would you say? What would you say to someone who is in a relationship with another one, and they want, let's say you want to grow in personal growth and development and move forward in health, and your the one you're in relationship with does not want to? Where would you start?
That's a good question.
That's a hard one, right?
It's not an easy place to be,
No.
for sure. But there is hope and there is growth for you even in the midst of it.
Yes. Yes.
I know this isn't in the notes, but there is actually a point where you have to detach from that other person's lack of desire so that you can go forward in your own desire. And we'll probably cover that in one of our points.
Yeah.
But the first thing we had was you are an individual before God.
Yeah, and I think maybe what you were trying to say, detaching, is more of just is kind of this point here, just realizing that, okay, at the very basic point, at the very basic level, it was you and your creator before anybody else. And
it will always boil back down to
yes,
that too.
And it must really be, because we just read it tonight in our Bible reading tonight. In Job says, "Naked I came from the womb, and naked I'm going to go back." His whole point is that I really am stripped bare before my Creator, and that's just the very basic and foundation. So, just remembering that at the very basic.
And this is not to shame or blame or guilt trip you for feeling so connected to your spouse or significant other, the person that you're in relationship with. Right. That's not saying, it's just, this is a way to help you in the midst of
help you still grow with that unwilling spouse who is unwilling to grow. And I might point out that even your growth, your personal growth, will, in the fruit of it, will reap a harvest of more intimacy, emotional intimacy, even if they're unwilling. Because just the very fact that you are growing, you will experience more emotional intimacy, more a closer relationship, even though your spouse is not doing that work.
Because you're healthier, you're able to not be like expecting too much out of them, or trying to get out of them what they can't even give you, what God can only give you.
And that is our goal with this part here, is not to separate in any way, but really to grow closer, even when your other spouse. And I think that's biblical too, because it's talking about I don't remember really specifically where it is, but I believe Paul talks about, you do your part, and your spouse. I think it's talking about the unbelieving spouse. At that point, they said they're gonna see, man, wow, you've really changed. So we won't park on that too much, but anyway, just remembering that you're an individual before the Lord, and that relationship has to be priority, and
it comes first,
because out of it, and that's out of it spring forth everything else. So
then when you recognize that you are an individual before God, then this can kind of lead into the next step of honoring your own heart. Because when you realize who you are before the Lord, and that you are a beautiful, beloved, created being by God Himself, then it will maybe help you learn, I guess would be the word I'm looking for, how to honor your heart, like how to know that what you're feeling, thinking in there is important, even if your spouse doesn't think it is, because you do matter, because you are a created, beloved being of God himself.
And I think we need to probably, I would really encourage and say, you must stop partnering with those voices of shame that say, oh man, I just can't have anything good. Or everything that all my feelings are trash and terrible, because that's what you hear.
Or that's what you experience from the other person, even
that's what I mean, yeah,
non-verbally.
Right, yeah, right,
like,
right.
you know, it can be experiential without them actually verbally trashing your feelings. Like, you know, it's more dismissiveness and stuff.
And this is a daily thing, so you really need to have daily check-ins with your heart about, like, I would say heart to heart with the Lord. You know, those are the kind of daily check-ins that I mean, just heart to heart. Okay, how am I? What is my value? How do you feel about me? I mean, really, how do you think about me?
And then going from there to, like, how did I feel about that situation? Like, I felt like he didn't validate it, but just because he didn't validate it doesn't mean that you need to destroy how you felt. And you can, in those times with the Lord, like, give your heart a hearing and say, I really felt this way. And you can just be in that instead of, like, dismissing it too.
Right.
But just acknowledging that and letting yourself and God be in that feeling, so that he can, like, even heal you and help you come out of that feeling, if it's a feeling of sadness or loneliness.
And that's what that is, starting of the process of called reparenting your own heart, and reparenting
Which is the next step.
letting the Lord reparent, and walking with him in your own kind of reparenting. We call it reparenting, but it is very challenging to do on your own. And I just would really highly encourage and recommend that you work with someone to actually learn how to, when we say reparent, it may sound funny, but it's actually just bringing back, or going back to those places in your heart where you really got off track and skewed in the way your heart perceived things. And so to reteach it and to retrain it, we just call it reparenting it, and bringing it back online.
And we would love to walk with you if you feel like you need someone to walk with you in that journey of reparenting.
That's right. So I think that we should just wrap it up with that. And then and then we'll just continue on later about continuing how to work. Maybe next time we can kind of start working with somebody. Okay, maybe they are a little bit interested, but they're just kind of hesitant, or they're not sure how much they want to really give. Right. You know, they're okay. Well, I want to give, but I'm kind of not sure if I trust you or anything like that.
Yeah, that goes along a little bit with rebuilding trust. I did want to just add, in the whole reparenting thing, that's kind of where you're going to start letting the love and compassion of God back into your heart. Like, if it feels like battered or bruised from the constant, like, not being heard, not being seen by your partner, when you're able to connect with God and your heart, then you can start being healed, start having and experiencing that love and compassion, even though you don't have that coming from a human source, or a human source that you think you should have it coming from.
Right. So that's it for this time, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, friends. Love you, and praying for you guys.